In the quiet darkness before sunrise, while most of Jerusalem still slept, a miracle unlike anything the world had ever seen was unfolding. The earth itself seemed to hold its breath. The city that had witnessed the brutal crucifixion of Jesus Christ only 3 days earlier was unaware that history was about to change forever. Inside a tomb carved into solid rock, beyond a stone so heavy that several men were needed to move it, beyond the seal of the Roman government and the watchful eyes of trained soldiers, the greatest victory in human history had already been won. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, who had walked among people healing the sick, opening blind eyes, cleansing lepers, calming storms, and raising the dead, had been crucified. The crowds that once followed him by the thousands had scattered. The disciples who had devoted their lives to him were hiding in fear. The religious leaders who opposed him believed they had finally succeeded. Rome considered the matter finished. To the world, Jesus was dead and buried. Yet heaven knew a different story. Only a week earlier, Jesus had entered Jerusalem riding on a donkey while crowds lined the roads shouting praises. Men, women, and children waved palm branches and welcomed him as a king. The city overflowed with excitement. Many believed he would establish a powerful earthly kingdom and free Israel from Roman rule. But Jesus came for a greater purpose. He came to save humanity from sin. As the week unfolded, tension grew between Jesus and the religious leaders. His teachings exposed hypocrisy. His authority challenged their power. The more he spoke, the more determined they became to silence him. One night, after sharing the Last Supper with his disciples, Jesus went to the Garden of Gethsemane. There, beneath the stars, he prayed with such intensity that his sweat fell like drops of blood. He knew what awaited him. He knew betrayal was coming. He knew the suffering he would endure. Yet he surrendered himself completely to the Father's will. Soon, armed soldiers arrived, led by Judas Iscariot, one of his own disciples. Judas approached Jesus and identified him with a kiss. The betrayal was complete. Jesus was arrested and taken away. Throughout the night, he endured false accusations, mockery, humiliation, and abuse. Witnesses lied about him. Religious leaders demanded his death. Roman authorities questioned him. Though innocent of every charge, Jesus was condemned. The crowd that once shouted praises now cried for his crucifixion. Crucify him! Crucify him! The cries echoed through Jerusalem. Roman soldiers scourged him mercilessly. They placed a crown of thorns upon his head. They mocked him as a king. Blood flowed down his face. Then they forced him to carry a heavy wooden cross through the crowded streets. People watched. Some mocked. Some wept. Others stood in silence. Eventually, Jesus arrived at a hill called Golgotha, the place of the skull. There, Roman executioners nailed his hands and feet to the cross. The sound of hammers striking metal echoed through the air. The Savior of the world hung suspended between heaven and earth. Hours passed. Dark clouds gathered. The sky grew unnaturally dark. Jesus suffered unimaginable pain, yet even in agony, he showed compassion. He prayed for those who crucified him. He comforted a dying criminal beside him. He ensured his mother's care. Then, after fulfilling every purpose for which he had come, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, "It is finished." Moments later, he breathed his last breath. At that instant, the earth shook violently. Rocks split apart. The veil inside the temple tore from top to bottom. Even a hardened Roman centurion standing nearby recognized that something extraordinary had happened. Surely this was the Son of God. As evening approached, a wealthy follower named Joseph of Arimathea courageously requested Jesus' body from the Roman governor. Along with Nicodemus, he carefully wrapped the body in clean linen cloths mixed with spices. They carried Jesus to a nearby garden. Inside that garden stood a new tomb carved into rock. No one had ever been buried there before. With great reverence, they laid his body inside. A massive stone was rolled across the entrance. The burial was complete, but the religious leaders remembered something. They remembered Jesus had repeatedly declared that he would rise again on the third day. Though they did not believe him, they feared his disciples might steal the body and create such a story. So they approached the Roman governor. Permission was granted. Roman soldiers were assigned to guard the tomb. The stone was officially sealed. Anyone breaking that seal would face severe punishment. From every human perspective, the situation was secure. The body was inside. The tomb was sealed. The soldiers were armed. The mission was finished. Yet they underestimated the power of God. The first day passed. The disciples mourned. Fear filled their hearts. Dreams seemed shattered. Questions remained unanswered. Everything they had hoped for appeared lost. The second day passed. Silence covered Jerusalem. The disciples remained hidden. The women who loved Jesus prepared spices to honor his body. Their hearts ached. The grief was almost unbearable. Then came the third day. Before dawn, while darkness still lingered over the land, Mary Magdalene and several other women began walking toward the tomb. The cool morning air surrounded them. Their footsteps echoed softly along the path. As they walked, they discussed a practical problem. The stone was enormous. Who would move it for them? They had no idea that God had already solved the problem. Suddenly, heaven moved. An angel of the Lord descended. The earth shook violently. The stone was rolled away, not to let Jesus out, but to reveal that he was already gone. The guards witnessed the supernatural event. Terrified beyond words, they collapsed in fear. When the women arrived, they stopped in shock. The tomb was open. The stone was gone. Everything was different. Fear and confusion filled their minds. They hurried toward the entrance. Looking inside, they saw something impossible. Jesus was not there. The place where his body had been laid was empty. Then heavenly messengers appeared. Their appearance shone with divine glory. The women trembled. One angel spoke words that would echo throughout eternity. Do not be afraid. You seek Jesus who was crucified. He is not here. He has risen, just as he said. The women could scarcely comprehend what they were hearing. Risen? Alive? Could it really be true? The angel invited them to look. The burial place was empty. Death had been defeated. The grave had lost its prisoner. Jesus Christ was alive. The women rushed away from the tomb. Their hearts raced. Fear mixed with overwhelming joy. They ran to tell the disciples. At first, many disciples struggled to believe the report. The news sounded impossible. Yet Peter and John immediately began running toward the tomb. Their feet pounded against the ground. Every breath carried anticipation. Every step raised new questions. John arrived first. Peter entered immediately. Both men examined the scene carefully. The body was gone. Only the burial cloths remained. Something extraordinary had happened. Something beyond human explanation. Something divine. The tomb was empty. Yet the greatest surprise was still ahead. Mary Magdalene remained near the tomb after the others left. Tears streamed down her face. Though she had heard the angel's message, confusion still overwhelmed her. She loved Jesus deeply. She could not bear the thought of losing him. While weeping, she noticed someone standing nearby. Assuming he was a gardener, she asked if he knew where Jesus' body had been taken. Then the stranger spoke. One word. Mary. Everything changed. She recognized the voice instantly. It was Jesus. Alive. Standing before her. The one she had seen crucified. The one she had watched die. The one she knew had been buried. Now stood before her victorious over death. Joy exploded within her heart. The darkness of grief disappeared. Hope returned stronger than ever. Jesus was alive. And this was only the beginning. The risen Christ would soon appear to many others, proving beyond doubt that the resurrection was real. The tomb was empty. Death was defeated. The Savior lived. And the world would never be the same again.